I am a 49-year-old EMT and she is a charming 51-year-old nurse. We found love in the shared passion for the medical field. We got married and life fell into an easy routine. No kids came along, but that wasn't a problem. She hung out with her nursing colleagues quite a lot, even on days off, but I never thought much of it. She loved her job and took great pride in it, especially when she earned a promotion and became a nursing director. Her promotion seemed to change things. She started working out more, became less affectionate, and we fought over trivial matters. Our once active bedroom life became virtually non-existent. She would often use her phone quite a lot, even when I tried to have a conversation with her at times, but I dismissed these changes as stress from the new job. But deep down, I felt something was amiss. I was always taught not to accuse anyone of anything unless I could back it up with proof. So I waited one day for my wife to come home. I asked her what was going on with her. She was sort of snippy with me, which I didn't agree with, but I didn't press the issue any further. Inside I said okay. My wife made substantially more than me. She was just promoted to nursing director at the hospital she works at, making over 6 figures a year. After that exchange with my wife, I did a simple Google search here in California for some private investigators. I reached out to a few and eventually found one I trusted. After a brief consultation, I hired him to help me find out if my wife was cheating on me. It took 2 credit cards to pay him, damn near $11,000. The private investigator followed her around for a week, and what he found out ended up being the worst nightmare I could have ever imagined. She was indeed cheating on me, all right, to the tune of 3 men, and none of them worked with her. It took a few days to absorb the shock. My heart was heavy with betrayal, but my mind was clear. I had to divorce her. Infidelity may not be a crime in California, but it was a deal breaker for me. I was going after everything. I deserved it after the emotional trauma she put me through. The next day, I contacted a divorce attorney and explained everything. She was confident that I had a strong case. We filed the papers immediately. In the following weeks, my soon-to-be ex-wife was served the divorce papers at her workplace. Later that night, when she came home, she glanced at me in our home office, but didn't say anything, nothing. She ended up packing a few bags and leaving the house. When she left the house, she left a nasty text saying, "Good luck. You'll need it." I didn't retaliate. I just waited and let the process of the divorce do its thing. When my wife left the house that day, she never came back. Well, at least when I was there, she didn't. The weeks that followed were filled with stress, uncertainty, and the unknown. I was grieving the end of a marriage, but I felt more at peace knowing that she would no longer be able to hurt me emotionally. The divorce hearing finally arrived, and the most shocking thing I saw before walking into the courthouse, my wife was sitting in her car with some guy. When my attorney did file for divorce a month back, she filed on the basis of irreconcilable differences. Well, my wife got her ass handed to her by the judge, alimony-wise. I was awarded $6,000 per month in alimony for 9 years. We were also ordered to split the proceeds when the house was sold. I didn't get part of her retirement, and I was not awarded anything from her nail salon that she owned with her dad because it was in her dad's name. 8 months later the house was sold. After settling all the payments, I walked away with $121,000. With that, our 16-year-old marriage came to an abrupt end. Well, about 4 months after the divorce, the private investigator contacted me and said I have information on a 3-man she was running around with. Now, I didn't ask for this information, but I was curious. The first guy worked at an appliance store. She met him through an online dating app. He is married and has 2 kids. The investigator told me his wife has no idea. The second guy was a married doctor from another city. He was visiting town for an extended stay and she met him at a local bar, but they stayed in touch and he kept meeting her at the same bar and a nearby hotel. The investigator said the same thing. His wife didn't have a clue. His wife works as a bank teller. The third guy was someone who worked for the city. He as well had a wife and 4 kids. The investigator asked me, what did he want me to do with the information? I asked him, could he put that information onto 3 separate flash drives? I wanted to let these women know what their husbands were doing with another married man's wife. I took it upon myself to mail 3 big envelopes to all 3 wives. I told the wives who I was, who my ex-wife was, how their husbands met my wife, etc. Well, the response I got from all 3 wives was overwhelming. They were so thankful and didn't know how to repay me, but they all shared a common trait. They said they would never forget what I did for them and their families. All 3 of the wives filed for divorce in the coming weeks. The husband that got hit the hardest was the guy with 4 kids. He was married the longest and ended up paying alimony for almost 12 years. He lost a house, part of his retirement, and he had to pay part of his wife's attorney's fees. Yeah, California is rough. If I was the one that was on the receiving end of the judge's ruling in my case, I don't know what I would have done. $6,000 a month is a lot of money. Fast forward a month and one of my ex-wife's old friends reached out to me and asked how I was doing. She told me that my ex-wife has started to date the doctor from the other city, and I thought to myself, well, how do you move on that quickly? The private investigator had one more final piece of information for me. He said that my ex-wife had gotten into a fight recently with one of the AP's ex-wives, but I didn't care. All she needed to do was to make sure she sent that money to me every month. I ended up buying a new home using part of the $6,000 per month to help fund it. My ex-wife did try to reach out to me by text shortly after the divorce, but I never answered. So that was my story about how I got divorced in the aftermath of what happened. I sincerely appreciate Tony sharing my story. When I found out my wife was cheating, I wanted to harm myself, but something made me stop. Don't know what it was. Well, in my opinion, this is going to sound bad. Men, we need to protect ourselves financially when it comes to divorce. I am getting stories where men are getting hammered in the courtroom. Now, this guy was lucky. California does not turn out successful divorce cases for men, just saying. I am not saying every woman has a hidden agenda, but in the courtroom, some of these laws need to change. Women are practically becoming financially independent from divorces.